now, and I'll open up with an introduction, and then I'll bring you on camera. Then I'd like for you to give us a little bit about you, and then we'll just kind of jive a little bit, and then we'll get right into the questions. Sound
Okay.
good? Okay. Get my right, so we got that going. Cool, let me get my charger. Why is this not charging here? All right, getting ready to go. All right, everyone, welcome. This is Benny Mayberry, founder of Smart Beard, here in Los Angeles, California, streaming live here for my bearded community. If you're out there, go ahead and give a shout out in the comments. Let me know that you are in the room. You can put hashtag beard Let me see those beautiful beards in the chat. If you know a bearded brother or a bearded friend, or even a girlfriend or a girl or friend of anyone who knows you bearded friends, be sure to tag them and bring them into this group, because tonight we have something very, very, very special and unique tonight. We're talking to an actual, real dermatologist. Now, let's be real. When was the last time that you actually saw and visited a real dermatologist? Or even if you've even seen one before. You know, a lot of brothers, I see this a lot. None of us has really actually gone to a real dermatologist to really check and see how really good or bad our skin really is. Heck, we're even good if we go out and get a facial by a real esthetician. So tonight we got a real special treat. We have world-renowned celebrity dermatologist, Dr. Paul Wallace, who's going to be joining us in a few seconds. He's going to answer your questions both live. We've had some that's been submitted before, and we thank you, brothers, for bringing those questions to us. But we're going to dive into skincare, hair care, basically anything that you would really want to ask a dermatologist. Tonight is the night to do it. Now, because we have already got some questions in before, we're going to start out with those questions, but don't worry. I am monitoring the chat in real time. So if you have any questions for our dermatologist tonight, just type them right there in the chat, and I will be sure to include them into tonight's talk. So without a further ado, I want to introduce a really good friend of mine, Dr. Paul Wallace. Dr. Paul, go ahead and wave everybody over the internet tonight. We are so thankful for you being here tonight. And I just want to start out, tell us a little bit about you. I know that you are Harvard trained. We know that you're one of the few Black dermatologists here in the nation, especially here out here on the West Coast. Tell us a little bit about you, your practice, and what you specialize in.
Well, thank you, Benny. It's my pleasure to be able to speak with everyone. It's an important topic in talking about beards, and there's been a tremendous reason to use it. COVID has increased the number of beards probably 200 to 300%. I've been practicing now for about 30 years. I started by working almost primarily on sets and stages for television and movies.
Wow.
And for the last 27 years, I was in Beverly Hills, and recently moved to what they call the Black Beverly Hills. I'm in Ladera, and looking forward to being able to share all the things that I do. I specialize especially in things like a laser for skin of color. And my products and my services are able to take the full spectrum from people from alabaster to ebony, but focusing on those who are in most need.
You know, a lot of guys and even women, they really don't know when is the best, when, well, even why go see a dermatologist. You know, I think for most of a lot of guys, heck, we even get facials. Why would a guy want to go out and see a dermatologist?
Well, dermatologist, we specialize in skin, hair, and nails. Now,
Hmm.
there are two parts of it, both a cosmetic aspect and a medical. A medical
Hmm.
is when there are medical problems, something as simple as acne, some things that are more severe, certain skin cancers, and yes, dark skin does get a skin cancer, but things, sarcoid,
Hmm.
lupus, eczema, psoriasis, atopic dermatitis. There's all of these, like a wide variety. Of course, if you Google, you can see thousands of different pictures of skin issues or skin problems.
Hmm.
Then there's the cosmetic aspect. And the cosmetic aspect is essentially, I want to improve the way that I look.
Right, right.
Improve, not necessarily change, but
Hmm.
improve. And what we've focused in on the last few years in particular is expanding the growth or the thought of what one thinks that they can look like. Most
Mm.
of us are walking around with a lot of dead skin on our faces that we don't
Hmm.
know. We can't understand about the discoloration or the
Hmm.
unevenness with texture. These are
Hmm.
things that cosmetically can be addressed relatively inexpensively,
Right,
and the change of habit.
right. Yeah, you know, that's so interesting that you say that, because you know, in my own personal journey, I was never really into cosmetics or into skincare. It wasn't until I got into maybe my late 30s, or I'm sorry, late 20s, when I decided to take a little bit more better care of my skin, um, particularly when I started growing out a beard. Um, but my mother said something to me years and years ago that never left me, but I never really always followed it until now. But it's something she said to me. She was one of the original African American female Maybelline models back in the I can't remember the actual time period, but she was, I think it was 60s or 70s. I can't quite remember, but she was one of the original African American models. And even into her latter life before she passed away, she used to always say, Benny, if you don't have enough time for your skin, then you're just too busy. And hearing that as a kid and as a teenager, even early, she passed away when I was 22. You hear that, and I was like, okay, mama, whatever, But as I gotten older, I've definitely realized that taking care of your skin is not only like fun and engaging, but it's also can be like a spiritual renewing practice. Like getting up in the morning and taking care of
Mhm.
your skin and
Mhm.
taking your beard. There's something relaxing about taking care of your skin. Also, your skin looks better, but also when you start dealing with the issues, especially when you start growing a beard, you start dealing with the itching and the dandruff and the extra oiliness that sometimes come with coming with a beard. You start realizing, yeah, I need to do a few more extra things. So I'm actually really glad that you are here because we need some truth, doctor. I'm telling you, we need some truth. They're in a sea of all these YouTube bloggers and internet gurus giving us all the wrong information. We need someone like you, doctor, to help us
Well,
because
it
we're
is
doing
my
all
pleasure.
kind of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and dive into some of the questions that were submitted to us earlier. So hopefully, if you did ask a question that you're actually watching now, um, one of the first questions that we received, doctor, was all about dyeing the beards. Now, fortunately, I'm 35 right now. I don't deal with a lot of grays, but they are sneaking in, you know. But as the beard is growing out and as you're getting gray, one gentleman in our group asked, he said that he has sensitive skin, okay, and he's found that most dyeing products, like Just for Men, that they really just act really bad with his sensitive skin. What suggestions or guidance would you give to bearded men who are frequently dyeing their beard and experiencing irritation? Do you have different recommendations, products, or what's actually happening that's creating those irritations?
Well, there's a couple of things, and you mentioned, and since they're the big boys out there, we'll talk about Just for Men. There are significant number of lawsuits that are associated with irritation that people have gotten with the using the dyes.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the time, but there's permanent dyes. There's what they call demi-permanent. There's semi-permanent. There are temporary. And those things have to do with the types of chemicals that are in them.
Mm-hmm.
The heavier, the dyes that last the longest are the ones that have to have the strongest chemicals, and they need to
Mm.
stay on the longest. Those
Mm-hmm.
that are the least, let's say, irritant are those like
Mm-hmm.
washes. They don't last long. If you wash your face a couple of days, it will already start fading and going out. So for those
Mm-hmm.
people who have sensitive skin, then they need to stay on things that are more washes. How do you know that they're washes? Well, first of all, they're not going to contain something like peroxide in it. Peroxide
Mm.
is one of the things that requires there to also be a neutralizer through
Mm.
there. You want something that you can just put on and wash off. And oftentimes, even some of for example, we're talking about the skin, the henna tattoos, that those come off. And there are very few people who find that they have an allergic component. The issue or
Yeah.
problem, though, is if you continue to irritate the skin, not only can you develop a greater and greater sensitivity to it, so it flares up even more,
Mm.
but the fact is that there's a difference between it being an irritant, where it is just a matter of the outside skin being irritated, versus
Mm-hmm.
you having a full-blown allergic reaction where you start getting hives and other parts of your body are affected by that. And that's what
No.
happens a lot of times with people who dye too frequently. For those of
Mm.
you who don't want to show the gray, you need to figure out how you can minimize it and show your maturity along the way, but staying totally dark, certainly for those who have very sensitive skin, can be difficult.
You know, I'm the type of person who has gone through quite a bit of beard dyeing because you may have seen this, doctor. I know you're probably going to kill me. Is you see, it's particularly in African American men, you see a lot of guys who go for that color block look, and they'll use dyes to kind of tint the skin to make those thinner areas appear more full. And how they do it, doctor, they use like dyes like Beijing, and they'll put it on your skin, but they'll tell you don't wash it out. Like keep it on your skin as long as possible because the moment you wash it out, it's going to kind of wash out, and you don't have that same crisp hairline like you would coming out the doctor's, or I'm sorry, the barbershop. I recently did a workshop on beard dyeing a couple of weeks ago, and I told men they really need to abandon that practice because the idea of putting semi-permanent or demi-permanent or even permanent dyes and just keeping them on your skin just for the sake of having a sharp beard line is tearing your skin up. And I would imagine a lot of those people who are now sensitive to beard dyes may have potentially been doing that beard practice, that dyeing practice that so many men today are doing, especially in the African American community. Have you seen that? Have you seen people doing that?
I've seen people doing that. I've also seen people who have gotten some very poor quality tattooing in the area. And
Really? Mm.
this because you have a beard, because you have also the just on the head, the you still have skin underneath that, and
Mm-hmm.
how you
Absolutely.
treat that skin. A number of people think that because I have a beard, I don't need to take care of the skin under the beard. A number of
Mm-hmm.
people who are wearing hair pieces, I don't need to take care of the skin because I've got the hair piece on. A number of the people who have their hair either twisted or in braids also forget you have to take care of your scalp. And the number
Right.
one thing that you can do for your scalp and your face, period. Remember that our body is 60% water, and if you think about it, that water needs to be replaced all the time, literally every
Mm.
day. So ideally, 60% of your body weight would be something that we'd want you to do and drink per day in water.
Mm.
50% is what the minimum should be. And that would open up all of the different blood vessels to the skin and allow the nutrients to get to the skin, allow the oxygen to get to the skin, and remove the toxins along the way. Most people, despite the ethnicity, are dehydrated. And what's the very
Mm-hmm.
first thing that happens when you go to the hospital? They don't even bother. They give you an IV immediately to get your the proper amount of fluid up and from there. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot expect the body and the skin, the largest organ of the body, to be able to protect you, to be able to regulate temperature, to be able to be fertile ground for your hair to grow, your beard in particular, since we're talking about that, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't um, hydrate. And what you may
Mm-hmm.
not know is every single hair has a small blood vessel that goes to it so that it can get the things, the nutrients,
Right.
the vitamins.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you're dehydrated, there's a significant portion of the blood vessels that will shut down. That means it will shut down to the hair. So if you have problems with it growing, trying to get an evenness with that, you have to have a good foundation. The and water starts that.
Thank you. And I think, the big takeaways is really, you know, dye your beard less frequently. Stay away from super harsh dyes that may have ammonia or peroxide in it, like the doctor mentioned. Um, I've heard of a new brand, doctor. I don't know if you heard of this brand. It's called Simpler. Simpler. It's supposed to be like this new altern. It is a beard. It's a semi-permanent beard dye, but they formulate it with a lot of ingredients to kind of counteract the harshness of dyes, and it's specifically made for the face. I don't know if you have heard of that dye. I don't. I haven't used it personally because I don't really dye, but I have recommended it to people, and people have said that they have noticed considerable differences on how their skin feel versus using like a Just for Men. So I don't know if you've heard of that brand, but if any of you guys are out there, maybe try it out and see what it's like. I think it could just be that it's marketed that is better for facial skin, but it may actually be better for facial skin. So, that may be a brand if you're looking for alternatives on that whole dyeing situation. Um,
I've heard of it, but I certainly can't endorse it. And I think
yeah.
that sometimes we get lost with regards to the language.
Hmm.
Because it's not burning doesn't necessarily mean that it's better for you.
Good
Um,
point. Hmm.
that's just like talking about filtered cigarettes. So
Hmm.
the I think the first part is minimizing your dye, and for those who are really into it, certainly understood for some events that you may be going for, an interview or
Hmm.
that, if you want to portray it
Hmm.
that. But I would minimize how much dye that you're putting onto and ultimately into the body.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you, doctor. Well, let's go right on to our next question here. We got a question here is, and I get this one a lot. So I'll be interested to see what you say, doctor. What ingredients should I look for to fix patchy beards? Oh, Lord, patchy beards. I'm telling you, I get a question on that almost every day. What are your thoughts on that, doctor?
Well, patchy beards, and I'm going to say this again. The first thing, let's make sure that you've got your water up. Let's make sure that you're taking your daily multiple vitamin. Many of you
Mm-hmm.
who don't have any GI upset, that you should also take biotin. A biotin is a supplement for hair, skin, and nails. Let's
Mm-hmm.
assume that that's in good shape. From there, what we usually have to do are one or two things. Either there's a problem. I call it more of a problem than a disease called alopecia areata. That
Mm-hmm.
is a temporary loss of hair. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes it can be a very small patch, and sometimes it can be multiple patches. The problem with it is this, that we don't know when that hair comes back, but almost 90+% of the time it will grow back. So we do a
Mm.
number of things. We use some topical steroids, that as a stimulant. There are some times in which you can do an injection of those steroids so that they are directly at the hair root. And what I've been
Mm.
doing lately is a process called PRP, platelet rich protein, where we actually take a tube of blood, we spin it, remove your red blood cells, and basically it's like mother's milk. It has all of the ingredients that your body has for stimulating hair growth,
Wow.
stimulating cartilage. You've heard of athletes getting it shot in their knees and joints, but that put at the hair root, along with doing what's called microneedling, where we're actually taking some needles that go through very fine and using that same serum on the top. So you inject it so it goes at the hair root, and you also lay it across the top, will really stimulate the hair growth. And pretty much if it's going to grow, that's it. Now, the other side is oftentimes a lot of guys, especially, have a fungus that's going on. And that
Yeah.
fungus will also
Mm-hmm.
create a bald area through there. So they may need to be treated. That's another reason to go by the dermatologist, that can be scraped or looked at and then treated appropriately with some antifungal medications, some requiring oral, some may be able to get away with just using topical.
I think this is such an important thing that we need to stop and address for men. A lot of people, especially in the beard world, feel that natural ingredients is the cure all to everything. And I typically tell men if that was the case, there would be no need for modern day science. There'll be no need for modern day medicines. If everything was fixed naturally, there will be no need for any of the stuff that we are talking about. That doesn't mean that everything that there are some things that can't be answered naturally, but there is a time and place where we need to look to science to help to alleviate some of the issues that we get. I see this a lot very frequently. Like this is a personal story, but about maybe 20 years ago, I had a dear friend of mine pass away from cancer, and she was so uh, anti medicines, anti drugs, anti everything, and only depended on natural ingredients. Now, that's not to say that because she used only natural products that she passed away because of that, because she could have just very well passed away even by using medicines. But I think it's important to note that everything natural doesn't always mean it's the most effectual. What's the word I'm looking for? The most effectual way of. That's the word I'm looking for. The most effectual,
Effective,
effective. That's what I'm
effective,
looking for. Thank
efficacious.
you. There you go. Efficacious. You know, that's not the most effective or efficacious way of trying to treat something. So I'm glad that you mentioned about medical type of procedures because as the natural movement is just proliferating, we have to remember there's sometimes where you need to step in and let science come in. And like how you mentioned how sometimes our beards grow fungus, um, all kind of little things that are happening under our skin. Sometimes you need to let science have it because everything you can't solve everything with tea tree oil.
Well, that's a fact. But and I also think that Western medicine is certainly not the only way. But
Hmm.
since 1995, I've been going over to China, and particularly then I was working on some medications for psoriasis.
Hmm.
I've been seeing psoriasis patients for all 30 years, and we have a number of new medicines that just started in the last 15 years or so. But what I got
Hmm.
out of China was that there's a tremendous number of natural herbs and spices and all that were used. But when it came down to something like psoriasis, they were using Western medicine on on the right side of the room, Eastern medicine on the left side of the room. And if you closed your eyes and turned around, they both look bad. So a combination of two things and essentially doing something healthy. Um, I'm all for doing Western medicine when appropriate. I'm all for doing Eastern medicine when appropriate, but I'm always ready for a mixture of the two. As I said, if we're going to talk about hair, let's talk about being healthy. Let's talk about
Absolutely.
hydrating properly. Let's talk about having a balanced diet. Let's talk about exercising. So, you know, we're all one piece, we're one body, one shell.
Right.
So, yes, I can focus in on the largest organ of the body, which is skin, but the other parts count.
And I thank you for saying that. And I just want to pause for a second. Anyone who, if you're out there watching this, I see we have some people here. Feel free to chat if you have any questions that you'd like to ask the doctor. We'll be sure to get to them towards the end. And so, speaking of that medical science, doctor, this leads us to the next question that we got was submitted is, and you touched on this a little briefly. What medical options exist for bearded men? They want to love to learn more. You know, and I think what they mean by medical options, just remember, I just knowing this particular person, um, I think it's more about medical options to help fill in your beard, medical options for growing your beard more effectively, growing it longer. What kind of medical options exist out there? And you touched on a few, so you may want to hit on those again.
Well, I do. The things that I would say is, first of all, the basic three. Let's make sure that you hydrate, you have a diet plan or meal plan, and you have an exercise plan.
Okay.
Let's be as healthy as you possibly can be. Number
Okay.
two, remember the fact that if you're dehydrated and every single one of the hairs has a blood vessel going to it, but the skin will give up that to your other organ systems. In other words, your respiratory system, your digestive
Mm,
system. So your skin can operate at 50% or less of what it needs, but it's got to sacrifice something. And one of the things it
I would have never
sacrifices
known that. Mm,
is hair. The number one
mm,
reason for dandruff, the number one reason for itching is dehydration. So
wow. Okay.
if you're hydrating when you're growing that beard, you're going to decrease the amount of the itch, and we all know what it's like when you're going through that first period of time. And but as anything else, the body will adapt to that. Another thing that I said, you have to make sure that, especially if you have a these bald spots on whether or not you truly have a medical issue that's going on, is like fungus. Things
Hmm.
that we're doing, topical steroids to help stimulate that, but you have to be very careful with the topical steroid, because the stronger the steroid, the more of the skin thinning, permanent skin thinning will happen. I've seen people who've come in who've gotten maybe a friend or someone else, and they had some very high dose that was meant for somewhere like their knees or elbows, their feet. They were using it
Mm.
on their face. And what happens, you get skin as thin as cigarette paper, easily to tear, easily can have problems, and certainly the functions of sweating, the being able to protect what gets absorbed into the skin are lost in those areas. And if you ever shave, it looks like a stretch marks, but the
Wow.
skin will lose its natural architecture. Other things that can be done, it's very good to massage your beard along the way to increase the blood flow that goes through there. Again, that blood flow requires hydration, but that does not mean being brutal to that. Scratching with your fingernails or
Yeah.
using these
Hmm.
sharp instruments that people are doing there. Your face, in particular, next to your hands, are brutalized. It's brutalized by the temperature, our ambient temperature that we're in. Um, Dust, dirt, smog, and the rest of that, all of that falls in on the face. And we have a tendency, especially as males, to just be rough and scrub that. No, what you need to have are some of the natural products, as they were saying, and or some of the things that, for example, in which I make, that have a buffered glycolic and um, salicylic acid in it, that's not going
Mm.
to over dry your skin. And remember, everything that you put on, all of these soaps and cleansers that you put on your beard are going to extract natural oils from them. And that's why a product like yours does such a fantastic thing of replenishing that and giving a texture, a smoothness, and a stimulant to grow.
That's well, thank you for saying that. And I also I do tell men that you could treat your beard, treat the skin under your beard the same way you would treat your face. Um, I sometimes I suggest to men to use like a exfoliating or a sensitive skin exfoliating facial wash, and maybe every bi-weekly or once a week, actually take that CeraVe. CeraVe has a salicylic wash facial cleanser for sensitive skin. I usually advise men every now and then, maybe like once a week or every other week, take some of that and focus on the skin under your beard to properly exfoliate it, to get, because, you're not, if you're not, most men only wash their beard maybe once to maybe twice a week, if that. They're putting all this product on. If they have oily skin, their skin is already oily, so they're putting more oil on top of that, and then on top of that, they're only cleansing maybe once a week. So every now and then I do, advise men to take a nice exfoliating wash, just to, not for the hair itself, but mostly for the skin under the beard, and because it's a part of your face still. It's not like the bottom of your foot. This is your face, so you want to exfoliate that. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that, doctor.
But Benny, I also want to say that um, you remember that we have certainly been learning over this last almost 18 months with regards to COVID on things there. Last year, we were talking about the fact that what about the COVID virus? Does it get caught in the beard? And the answer is yes. However,
Hmm.
don't panic. Usually, the amount that you would have is minimal. The problem would
Hmm.
be, again, touching your beard and then going in your mouth or in your nose. That would
Right.
create
Hmm.
issues or problems. But now more and more of us are wearing the mask as we should have been doing, and that certainly protects. But the point that you were stating, using a wash with glycolic and or salicylic acid also is antiviral. So washing
Mm.
more frequently will also help to give you a higher level of protection with regards to COVID. So, and remember, those masks are to be washed every day. It looks great to have a color coordinated mask with the clothing, but those things
Yeah.
need to be washed every day. Think about it.
Yeah.
all of the
Yeah.
things that all the burps that you have, any coughing that you have, and the natural bacteria that you have in there goes into that mask. And many
Yeah.
people are wearing it day after day. And the cloth mask, those are meant to be thrown away daily.
Daily,
So
right?
you're abusing your health, you're abusing your face, you're abusing your beard by saving a couple of cents by saying, okay, I can still use this mask for tomorrow. No, don't do that.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And also I'd also talk really briefly on like when you have a beard, a lot of times you're putting your mask over your beard. When you're someone like me that has kind of a medium, I would consider this more like a medium, short to medium beard. A lot of times the mask is not creating a tight fit on your face because your hair is in the way. So a lot of times, what I do is, let me see, do I have my mask anywhere around here? Oh, let me grab it. What I usually do is, um, I'll tell men to put the bottom of their mask kind of don't put it like down here, right? I'll tell them to be a little, put the bottom or the end part of your mask right where the goatee is, like right around here. Um, and this one has two straps. So I'll usually put it right here under, right before it gets to the hairline. Glasses on here, and I'll position it. And then what I do is I'll take a big breath. And when I'm taking in the big breath, what I'm looking to feel is any cool air coming in from any parts of my mask. If I feel like a lot of cool air coming from this side, then I'll reposition to try to get a better seal on my mask. And then after I feel like it's satisfactory, what I'll do is I'll put another mask over it, like this one. I'll put another mask over it. And what this one will do is this one has elastic at the bottom. So what it do, it kind of puts a little bit more tension at the bottom, pushing that mask more into my skin to make sure that I have as close of a nice seal as possible. It's a little bit cumbersome. I mean, a lot of people don't even like wearing masks in general. But to your point, doctor, with COVID being able all around, we're here in Los Angeles. I don't know where you're watching, but we're here in Los Angeles. This is like the COVID capital of the world, I think. At least it was at one point. Um, you got to be safe. Washing your beard more than not is definitely the way to go. And so I'm really glad that you brought up those points, doctor.
The other thing, I think that the the double strap is a very
Hmm.
good thing for when you're wearing a mask, because again, if you have that mask and it's pushing the bottom out,
Hmm.
you aren't doing yourself a big favor. Another
Yeah.
thing is you can get these very simply, and it helps to remove the mask a little bit from your face.
Hmm.
And although you can still get a tight feel, you can breathe better there. The mask isn't pressing against your mouth and your nose. So you can get these on
Yeah.
Amazon.
I actually have some of those, and I do. I so this one right here, this is the N95 mask.
It's
So
more
for
fitted.
it's more fitted, but also it has a little, if you can see, it has a little bit more of a curvature. So it kind of gives you space. But when you're using regular surgical mask or just regular cloth mask, you're not going to have that space. I definitely have used those kind of guards, and they definitely help you breathe better. And I would even say, to some cases, I feel like they've even helped the seal in some type of way. I don't know if that's factual. It's more just subjective, but I love those guards, and I think I got mine for like five for $10 on Amazon. So they're really great. Which brings us to our next question, which is, what can we do about ingrowns and pimples and bumps under our beards? Now, I get this a lot. I get this question a lot, and a lot of times I usually just go, "Oh, let's go to the store and get you some bump patrol," for the most part. But Doctor, shed a little bit more of your insight about ingrowns, beard, pimples under the beard, and what men really should be doing about that.
Well, I think that the simple answer is you need to groom your beard. on a
Okay.
daily basis, whether you're washing it, you are brushing it, you are combing it, and you are hydrating. I'm going to say that until we get off. You're hydrating and you're moisturizing. Moisturizer
Hmm.
is something that you put on. Hydrating is something that you put in. Those are the
Hmm.
things that will help. The washing, especially again, going back to something like a salicylic or glycolic, those things help to loosen dead skin, and that gets and the dead skin is something that contributes to the ingrown hairs. Hairs, and
Mm.
I'll just try to show it. I don't have my poster here. Hairs are coming out, and it differs. Asian hair is thick and grows straight. um, African American hair is curly, but that curl doesn't start until a certain amount of time that the hair is grown. For those who
Mm.
don't have beards or shaving, that's why it's important for them to shave on a daily basis so that it doesn't have enough time to curve and to go back in. It's
Curl
got to
back
come out
into,
and
yeah.
go back in. But also, when it's
Hmm.
coming out, if you have a large amount of dead skin, you were mentioning earlier for folks who aren't necessarily shaving, that growing a beard, that you're going in and having a facial. That's another reason why, to take off some of that dead layer of skin. There are a number of cleansers and products that are out there. Certainly, our company makes them exclusively. We have a whole men's line, but
Mm.
the part is that you want to clear the dead skin off of your face. You want to both comb and brush your hair. You want to not just use your beard as a cover. You want it to actually be a picture. You want it to, the canvas is your skin. So you want to have a quality hair that's there. It's not just growing. It's something that you need to take care of. And that's where we see a lot of problems. Some men believe that, well, I can grow hair, so I don't need to do anything to it. No, you
Right,
actually
right.
need to
Hmm.
increase your grooming habits that will help you minimize those ingrown hairs, minimize those hair bumps that are growing.
Thank you. That's really, really great advice. I mean, I think um, I like how you highlighted, and I didn't even think about this. This is where your exfoliants also do come into play, like your salicylic acids and washing and frequently, or frequent enough, I should say, maybe that's a better way, frequent enough exfoliating the skin under your beard. If you have a, I think I think me personally, and you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, doctor, I feel like people who have longer beards like me won't necessarily have issue with ingrowns. I think it's ingrowns. I think it's those who constantly shave, or maybe not constantly shave, but keep their beard relatively skin tight because their hair is curly back into the skin. I think if that's you, you're probably going to be dealing with ingrowns more. Am I correct on that, doctor?
Well, yes, you are correct. And then, there's something of semantics that we want to talk about here.
Okay.
Clippers clip, razors cut.
Mm.
So many people try to shave with clippers. It's
Mm.
impossible to do. Clippers do this. And if you thought that your clippers were okay and it wasn't irritating your skin, try putting some rubbing alcohol on after you've used your clippers for shaving purposes. It will burn like
Mm.
hell. And that's because it's been sawing at your skin. If
Wow.
you use a straight razor, but you use the right technique and you use the right, the proper shaving gel that needs to be on at least 60 to 90 seconds so that it's not there just giving you a smooth surface, that it's actually being absorbed by the hair going into the cortex and making the hair stand up and spread out. That's what that 90 seconds does before you shave. Many people who are experiencing those razor bumps will find that they'll be minimized.
Okay,
Also, making sure that they use, and I say they use like the rough side of a towel after you've shaven to get those small hairs, dead skin, and residual shaving gel off of your face, and then use a quality aftershave. That's how
now
you're going to
see,
minimize having those bumps.
I never knew that keeping shaving cream on your hair, on your face, on your skin at least 90
Or
seconds
hair.
is right. Is absolutely essential. I mean, I'm bald, so I don't I don't grow hair at the top of my head, but I do grow it around the sides like the Jeffersons. But I typically I alternate between shaving and using clippers. You know, I alternate. It just depends on which day I have the most time to do it with. But when I do shave, I never let it sit there. I just kind of just wrap it on and then whoop, 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 whoop. So this is news breaking to me. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I never really thought about the difference between shaving and how it cuts the hair versus a clipper. You know, like I have clippers and they call them zero gap, so they go way close to your skin. Fortunately, I don't let my hair grow out enough for it to kind of create ingrowns. But I remember when I was younger and I didn't have a beard and was shaving under my neck, I would get ingrowns all the time. And I was always using a clippers. But I did notice that when I got a straight edge razor or I get to a barbershop and got a professional shave, the ingrowns would be a lot less. So I thank you for sharing that. And I hope all of our
And
viewers
Benny,
hear that. Hmm.
Benny, shave down, not up.
I learned that too. Yep, absolutely. I mean, shave. What they call it, shave with the grain, not against it. I
That
think
is
that's what they
correct.
call it. Yeah, definitely do that. I think a lot of people like to shave against it because you think you get a closer shave, but it may come back to haunt you in the form of ingrown. So I know we're coming up on time, so we only have a few more questions, and I want to say to everyone who's watching, if you would like to have a one-on-one virtual consultation with Dr. Wallace, he is offering that to you as being a part of the Smart Beard family. What I would love for you to do is to simply just type in the comments "me," and we have systems in place to take note that you are raising your hand to get a virtual consultation. Go ahead and just type hashtag me in the comments, and we will get with you about scheduling you a virtual consultation with Dr. Wallace to get your skincare concerns addressed and answered. And if you're concerned about cost or if you're concerned about your medical insurance, don't worry about that right now. We have set up a partnership with Dr. Wallace's and his doctor offices to make sure that you get you the help you need and to try to meet you where you are as much as possible within your insurance or within, even if you decide to do cash pay options. Um, I don't want to scare you and think, oh, this is, expensive medical, but I want you to get the help that you need because honestly, the maybe $100 that you may spend on getting consultation on your skin will save you thousands of dollars later on if you ever needed to get a real surgery for something that could have been preventable. So this type hashtag me and Dr. Wallace we will get with you and get you a one-on-one virtual consultation, Dr. Wallace, whatever you're dealing with, whether it's acne, whether it's beard issues, whether you're having rashes and you don't know where they're coming from, or you're having things that you're embarrassed to talk about in public or to your friends, go ahead and put hashtag me and we'll be sure to reach out to you to get you scheduled, to get you a one-on-one consultation with Dr. Wallace. Now, we got two more questions here. And we'll just touch on this one really briefly because this could literally be a 2 hour long conversation. This person wrote in and says, I have no clue on how to make a skincare routine. How do I start?
Pretty simple. The routine is you need to wash your face twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. You
Okay.
need to use, according to the sensitivity of your skin, you need to use a gentle cleanser. Remember, you want to be gentle to the skin, but you want to have a good cleanse. A good cleanse does not mean that you're squeaky clean. You're not a pot. You are not a glass. So you shouldn't feel this dry prune stuff that's there. You need to
Mm-hmm.
hydrate and as I mentioned before, what is it? 50% of your body weight in ounces of water. And remember that alcohol, tea, coffee, and sugared drinks are diuretics. The body doesn't get a chance to use it, and you actually pee out more than you take in. So you actually go in a
Wow.
negative direction.
Wow.
You need to moisturize your skin. And the last is that you need to protect your skin. You need to use a sunscreen, an SPF, sun protective factor 30 or greater. Find one that you like. They have them in cream. You do not have to wear banana boat on your face. There are gels, there are sprays that can be used, but an SPF 30 is the minimum. 1 minute on that. Do not be fooled by numbers that are higher. An SPF 50, 70,
Mm,
95. An SPF 30 blocks 95 to 96% of the harmful rays. Harmful
mm,
rays that can, one, cause skin cancer, harmful rays, and especially in people of color, that can cause discoloration, both hyperpigmentation and hypopigmentation. So
mm.
that's the regimen. Make sure you hydrate. Make sure you cleanse twice a day. Make sure that you moisturize and then protect your skin.
I've gotten asked a question before about um, I did a live talk somewhere and someone said they felt like it was ridiculous to wash their face in the morning and at night because they were trying to argue the fact that if I wash my face at night and then go straight to bed and then wake up and wash it again, well, my face didn't technically get dirty between the 8 hours that I washed, between the 8 hours between I went to bed and wake up in the morning. I didn't. My response to that, I don't remember what I said because it kind of had took me off guard. But what would have been your response to something like that?
Well, there's several different ways that we can answer that. You have skins that cells that are turning over all the time. Most
Hmm.
of you know, as adults, unfortunately, we've experienced that there's been a death in the family or someone that we've known. And if they've been in the mortuary for more than a couple of days, you may know that they have to shave the people because the hair cells continue to grow over that period of time. The other thing is, again, you've been have natural oils that are on your face, and you've been had those pushed by a pillow into your face. You've also had your hair that has been laying on your face and crunched. You want to be able to let it start off fresh. You are
Mm,
not trying to do something that's going to strip all of the oils from your skin. You want to do something, again, a gentle but effective exfoliant that you can use, a light one that can be done on a daily basis. And yes, and of course, it's ridiculous to talk about why not to wash at night. You've had the whole
sure.
environment open to you, and then you're going to lay your face down for 5, 6, 10, 12 hours, how many people sleep. So twice a day is what the recommended time frame is with regards to how often you should wash your face.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think we're down to our last question, and which is, and this is a big one again. There are so many myths out there, doctor. I mean, if you, most of us men, we get our information either from our barbers or from YouTube, or we'll get them from passing from other friends who talk about their beards.
Or
But the
our
reality,
mothers.
or our mothers, I remember my mom, she made me put Blue Magic and pink oil moisturizer. I think those are the two things that we used. If you guys don't know what that is, if you're from the South, you know what Blue Magic and pink luster's moisturizing oil is. But
And you don't have to use Dixie Peach on your face.
it's that part. With that, uh, tons amount of misinformation is out there from wannabe internet gurus who are not trained cosmetic chemists, who have picked up different tips from God knows where, and it somehow may have worked for them, or they thought it worked and they just spreading it out. What are some of the myths that you've heard on the internet, particularly about men with beards? If you've heard any at all, or just general men's skincare, what are some of the myths that you've heard on the internet that we just need to stop doing and we need to avoid at all costs?
Well, using your own urine is not going to help you with regards to minimizing skin bumps. Putting
Uh-oh.
that on, even, Benny, you know that I'm the medical director for the World Boxing Council. And so I've been doing this for the last 32 years. And the things that they do soaking their hands in urine or putting it on their eyebrows so they don't have cuts. That doesn't work. So for you guys who are doing it because you think that it's going to thicken your skin and you're not going to get razor bumps, I suggest not doing that.
Hmm.
Anything that is very irritating to your skin, I'd say don't do. From things as easy as using something like Magic Shave to using a moisturizer. If you feel some type of unusual tingle, heat, discomfort, stop using it. It
Hmm.
doesn't get better along the way. It will only get worse.
Get worse,
And
right?
so I encourage you. There are a number of things that do work well. As a physician, the problem for me is I'll never tell you that something you tell me works great for you doesn't work. But I can't
Hmm.
tell everybody because I may see 30 patients today, and those 30 patients can't do exactly what your skin does. A lot of things are
Absolutely.
individualized.
Hmm.
Many of the natural products, when the bottom line comes down, everything starts from being natural. What usually
Hmm.
happens is that the component that works of that natural product is what's then manufactured by the chemist. So
Right.
understanding that that's it, don't suffer internally or externally using products that usually if it's on the internet and it's getting a big splash, there's a problem with it.
Hmm. You know, that's funny that you say that because I think brands that you can trust are brands that will tell you the truth, even if it's not in their best interest. As me coming from a person that has a marketing background, I could easily whip up some beard products together and sell it to you. And as long as I have good marketing, you'll buy it, you know. Um, but when you find brands that are educating you from an unbiased perspective, and that's not easy to find. Brands that are educating you from an unbiased perspective that welcomes you to challenge their science and are willing to change when new science or new information becomes more apparent. Those are really brands that you can trust. But when you're shopping on Amazon, uh, as a person who has a cosmetics brand, I will tell you that a lot of the creators who create these brands on Amazon, a lot of them are just copying these formulas, hiring some contract manufacturer to make it, and then slipping on great labels so that they can be a competitor on Amazon. And they have the marketing dollars and the marketing budgets to accumulate a lot of reviews and a lot of 5 stars and the 4 stars to make them seem very legit even if their formula is not even all that. And a lot of things, another thing that a lot of brands do, especially lower cost brands, is that they will slip in 0.0001% of argan oil in their products. But then on the label, argan oil, just like they take fat ingredients and just blow them out the water. Sometimes you need to put a little bit more money and buy reputable brands that are actually invested in making sure that their products are good, but also are on the cutting edge of research and are constantly in it. Brands like what we do here at Smart Beard, or even Dr. Wallace's own skincare line, which you guys need to check out. Um, there, there are a lot of legit brands out there, but sometimes what you find on Amazon, everything that glitter don't glow. Sometimes you need to get recommendations from your dermatologist. Sometimes you need to go get some for your esthetician. Sometimes even your own friends, they're going to recommend stuff that works for them, but they're not necessarily telling. They're not a scientist. They don't know how to look at your skin and say what's going to work for you. So, you know, we always get product recommendations from everybody, but sometimes you need to filter those through professional people to make sure that it's working for you. And I want to say, as we're coming up on time, that we're just so thankful to have Dr. Wallace here today. If you are in the Los Angeles area, I would encourage you to visit his practice. I've been to his new location in what they call the Black Beverly Hills of Los Angeles, and it is beautiful. I was so thoroughly impressed how high just the amount of attention and detail that went to just how beautiful the clinic was, but also you'll be thoroughly impressed of just how brilliant Dr. Paul is. This man,
Thank you.
you can feel his concerns and his passion to make sure that you are getting the best care. And I also will say there's not a lot of black dermatologists. There are many black dermatologists, but they're spread all out. So being able to find one and a reputable one is something that's really, really hard to find. So if you're not in LA and you would love to get some more information or get a diagnosis or get an examination of your own skin type, Dr. Wallace's offices can do virtual consultations. All you need to do is just direct message me or type in the comments hashtag me, and we'll get you the information to have a consultation with him. And also to everyone who's watching, be sure to check out our products on smartbeard.com. And Dr. Wallace, how can we find out about your products?
You can hashtag Wallace.skincare or
Okay.
at Wallace Skin and Body.
At Wallace Skin and Body, guys, check out. I've actually used, I believe I have, I don't know if I think it's the SPF. Yeah, you have an SPF, right?
For the men's line, is called Fantastic, and it is
Okay.
both a sunscreen and moisturizer. We have a special wash, as I mentioned before, that is a buffered
Mm-hmm.
glycolic and salicylic, so it doesn't dry you out, but it will help with
Mm-hmm.
regards to that exfoliation, even more so during this period of time. It is an antiviral and antibacterial wash that is gentle and for sensitive skin.
Absolutely. Fellas, if you're looking for skincare stuff and you don't really know which way to go, finding products made by dermatologists, I mean, it's almost a surefire way, at least a much more surefire way than Amazon, to find good quality products. Dr. Wallace's have a whole complete skincare line for both men and women. So I encourage you to check them out and buy black. Check out his products, try them for yourself, and let them know how much they help you. Well, listen, everyone, this is about all the time that we have tonight. It's 7:03 over here on the East Coast, which makes it 7, 8, 9, 10, 10:03 on the, I'm sorry, 7:03 on the West Coast. It's 10:03 on the East Coast. So I know all of you are either going to bed or getting ready to have a late dinner. So I hope that this question and answer with a real life dermatologist was helpful for you. And I pray the best wishes on your skincare journey. Be sure to email me anytime at smartbeard.com if you want to email me, or you can direct message me on social media at try_smartbeard on Instagram or on Facebook. And also, if you have any questions, I can surely send them off to Dr. Wallace and he can get you
Sure.
the answers that
Mm-hmm.
you need. So we love you. Thank you, Bearded Brothers. Stay blessed, stay safe. By all means, stay safe. And until next time, we'll see you on another live Q&A. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.